Good afternoon, beautiful people, and happy Thankful Thursday. I hope today has brought you nothing but reasons to smile. And if it hasn't, well, you know how it goes. By the time you leave here today, you will have either laughed at me or with me, and I'm okay with both. Today, I'm bringing a very special guest, Mr. Andrew Clark, who's going to be coming to share a few tips, maybe a few myth busters about credit and some other things. But more importantly, I want you to understand something. Andrew wasn't born into this. This isn't something that he was taught as he grew. This is something he had a passion for within himself. And like I always say, everything you need is within you. He found his thing, and it was about finance. And he has a passion for helping people understand finance so that they don't feel trapped by it, so that money can work for you instead of you working for money. I'll give you a little bit about what he's about. Hopefully that will give us some time for people to come on in. I do want you to ask questions. This is your chance. Believe it or not, he's doing this for free. So it's a great chance to ask questions that you may have wanted to ask from somebody who was honest, somebody who came by this by his own stories, by his own truths, and by his own endeavors. So make sure that you take the time to ask the question. If you don't want to ask it in the comments below, feel free to inbox me. He is also on Facebook and other social medias, Mr. Andrew Clark from Expanding Wallet. If you want to check him out on your own, I'll be giving this website throughout this, but it's www.expandingwallet.com. But let me go ahead and talk about him for just 1 minute. I'm not going to tell you what gave him the passion to do this. I'll let him share that part. But I do want to talk about some pretty impressive things. Let's see. He bought his first investment property, a duplex, at 24. I don't know about you, but at 24, a complex, an investment, doing any of that was very far from my eyesight. So kudos for that. Now, not just that. Hold on now. He paid off his college loans by 26. I think I may still have some out there. Yeah, so that's pretty impressive. He got deeper into real estate investing and diversified into other types of investing, such as stocks and venture capital investments. And he's learned a lot, and he's here to help people. And yeah, I mean, why not have somebody like that on my show, right? I mean, yeah, pretty helpful. But without further ado, I am going to bring on Mr. Andrew Clark again. Please ask questions. It is important. I know I'm going to bombard him with questions, but as I bring him on, I just want to say I am thankful for the opportunity to give to people, because I came from a background where any lofty dream was an opportunity for mockery. Anytime you wanted to say you want to be rich, they thought the only way you got rich was, coming from a rich family. So for somebody to share secrets and to open up the windows of opportunities and our thought process when it comes to finances, it's a really good opportunity and a great person to know. So, all right, Mr. Andrew, let me get him on here. Boom. Ta-da.
Hey, Amy. Can you hear me?
Hi, Andrew. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I really appreciate it.
Well, I think it's you are, I'm sure you've heard this already, but you're like a rare species. Okay. People at 24 and 26, they're not investing. They're not buying properties. They're probably still figuring it out. And for me, I was a mother of 3 by that time. So let me ask you, let's let them know, what is it that brought you the passion to do this? What did it for you?
Well, talking about being a mother of 3, my mom was probably, that was the biggest driving force, actually. Just having come from, I was born in Jamaica, and then my mom immigrated here when she was in her 30s. So she had actually had me, and she couldn't afford to keep me right away. So she sent me back, and I eventually came back to America when I was 3. And the driving force was just watching her, right, try to take care of our family here in America, and also family members back in Jamaica who couldn't support themselves. So, I grew up watching my mom for most of my life growing up work like over 100 hours a week, right? And so basically, like what you're saying, like she didn't know at that time, she didn't know about investing money, right? She was raised on a farm. They had 8 kids. So she was one of 8. And so for them, they knew about hard work, and then saving money was something my mom really believed in. So she would save money in the bank, but she didn't invest anything. So the conversations used to be like, about working, right? But really there was no investment talk. So there was nothing that I really grew up with about investing. Maybe it was like, put your money in a CD, right? Like that would be probably like the extent of it, right? And so that was really the driving force then for why I started learning about personal finance, was because of just looking at my mom and like, what would happen if she got sick, right? She had usually had 2 to 3 jobs at a time. Like she would work one job, go to the other. I wouldn't see her till usually 11 o'clock or later. And then she
Right.
would come home and still cook for us. So my mom was sleeping like, some nights 2 hours, some maybe like 5 hours on a good day. Right. And so you do that for that long, it has a toll on you. Right. And so that was my driving force, was looking at the toll it had on my mom. And so at 15, I started self-educating myself in finances by really just reading books. Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, was the book that really opened my eyes. And I remember telling my mom, you're like the poor dad, right? You're really like, well, I mean, she believed in education, right? And so the poor dad was a principal, right, at a school, and that was Robert Kiyosaki's actual dad. And my mom believed heavily in education, which I don't disagree with. There's nothing wrong with it, but education doesn't really teach you about money. The traditional education system doesn't. And so for my mom, she came to America working $4 an hour, worked her way up through school and got a nursing degree, right? So she's a nurse. And so, again, like didn't know about money. And one of the saddest things was she was working really hard, right? All these hours, right? She focused heavily on jobs that paid her higher per hour, right? She didn't look for jobs. She wasn't necessarily looking for jobs that was putting money in her 401k for her, right? So eventually we realized too, like you need to start changing your thinking and you need to start investing. So investing in real estate was kind of like the thing that we focused on. And she eventually started buying like property and land and things like that. So that helped to fill that gap, but she still can't necessarily retire. And she's, I think she's 66 now. You probably know that, but yeah, 66.
So that is a common story, right? When I used to manage large companies, I had 200 something employees. They would always want more money. They'd say, well, I want more money. And I remember having to sit with some of them and say, I do want you to understand all that's doing. I need you to see this. And then so I would probably something my company wouldn't appreciate before, but I kind of, not that I know a lot, but I know enough to say that if what you're doing is just getting this money to spend it and not put it somewhere, you're still not helping yourself. So some people would say at your age, getting a duplex, how did you do that? What did you do? Like kick somebody over and take their money or rob a bank or just kidding? What did you do?
So yeah, let me break it down. So first off, before we jump into 24, right, and buying a duplex, let me give you the backstory, because I got told when I bought that duplex, the week I bought it, I had actually turned 24. So it was like my birthday gift to myself. But the week I bought it, someone actually said that's the worst decision you could make at 24. They said, you're stupid for buying a duplex.
Wow.
And the reason they said that was because they just didn't think like I could handle that level of responsibility at 24, both like the financial part, but then managing tenants, right? But here's the backstory that they didn't know. So at 15, I'm reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad. At 18, I get my real estate license. While I'm going to college, I'm a real estate agent. But real estate agents, they actually don't get trained on investments. So at that time, my mom's focus too was on investments. And so she's going to seminars, paying to go to seminars, right, with investors who are well-trained, diverse in various areas of investments. So I get to go with her. And so I'm in here listening from some of these top experts in real estate, right? So by the time I'm 21, I have experience or knowledge experience, at least from these people, on how to invest into multifamily homes like duplexes, how to invest into apartment buildings, how to buy land and develop the land, even how do you flip RVs, right? How do you flip like an RV or start an RV park, right? So like that's literally my training. So you look at it like, oh, you bought a property at 24, but it had been 9 years, right? 9 years of doing work to prepare, right? So like to that person, it's just a young 24 years old, right? That was started at 15.
Right.
And so that's like the difference is like, I had been preparing myself mentally. And so when you talk about, okay, how did I do it? Right. Like the breakdown, the first thing is that I realized how important credit was. So while I'm in college, right, I don't make a lot of money, but I'm working on building my credit. Right. So I'm trying to keep credit score as high as I can. And so, and I'll give a little plug later, but I do have a workshop on July 21st 1st at 8 p.m. Central Time on credit. So that's something that I'm doing for free. People can come to that workshop for free. Just go to expandingwallet.com/events, and it's the first event when you scroll down. And you
Really
do have
quick,
the
it was July 20. I'm gonna make a banner for that. So it was July
okay.
23rd?
Wednesday, 21st, July, whatever. Yeah, July 21st is Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central Time.
At www. It's going to be live on your Expanding Wallet.
So when you register, you'll get a link. It's going to be on Zoom.
Okay. But the sign up is on your.
Yes. Yep. Expandingwallet.com/events. EVENTS. So plural.
Okay.
That's so cool that
really,
you have.
You mentioned something very important, and this is one of the things I was going to hit on once we got to this point. Is I honestly am just now learning that it's not about your money, it's about your credit. Now, I was taught that credit was taboo. Okay, when growing up, it's like, you don't owe nobody, and opening credit, that's the devil. You know, you just don't, that credit was something that was looked at as like, whoa, you got all these accounts open, you have all this credit. Now, I listened to somebody yesterday, and I don't know how far-fetched this is, if it's right or wrong, but I was listening to an event yesterday, and he was saying, you know, credit is the safest money to use. And that blew my mind. So anyway, just to say that this is something I wanted to talk about was the Mythbusters for credit. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get your stuff.
No. And like, man, that's so important. And I think that what you said is really important. And I'll finish talking about, you know, how I ended up getting the house, but I do want to just touch on that since you brought it up. But it's just so important because for a lot of people, credit is really like what puts them in a bad position, right? So they end up kind of just seeing credit as, this is just something for me to buy something I want now and pay for it later, right? Even if I can or cannot afford it. And I think that's kind of where, you know, one of the things that I also had been doing was budgeting at the time. And so when you budget, it's like, I'm going to pay off my credit card. Like, here's how much I can spend on random stuff, right? Maybe it's like $300. Here's how much for gas, whatever that is. I'm not going to put more than that on my credit card, right? That's my limit. I don't care if I have a $10,000, $5,000 limit. I can only afford $500 a month, right?
Right.
So that's why, like I say, budgeting is so important when it comes to spending money and getting a credit card, because you might have this limit way up here, but you can only afford down here, right? So that's your real limit. And so basically what I did then was I would just use my credit card for like buying gas, buying food, pay it off at the end of the month, right? I already was going to need that stuff. I'm just using a credit card for that. So you build up, so that way I built up my credit score now. So I graduate school and my credit score is actually good. So I actually, honestly, I was probably thinking back on it. There were some rules. So I think these are still in place. I'd have to probably talk to my mortgage guy, but I think these are still in place. So usually you need 2 years of work history in order to buy a property.
Okay.
So there's kind of like a loophole, I guess you could say, but you can count 1 year of that as your, what would you say? Maybe you could count like 18 months. It was like either a year or 18 months, something like that. But you could actually count your schooling as part of that work history, even though you really weren't making money, right? So technically, and I want to say it was 18 months because I actually graduated at 23 and then I bought the property, like I said, the week I turned 24. So it was actually less than a year. It was like 9 months. But basically because of that, then you could go ahead and buy a property. But now, okay, let's talk about the money part, right? So how did I end up buying a duplex? How did I get enough money? And again, this comes back to budgeting. And I did a live recently and I talked about the importance of a budget and what it showed me. So I knew kind of, again, from my real estate agent experience, I saw that house prices were rising at about 11% a year at that time. They were rising pretty quickly because we had come out of, we came out of the recession, the real estate recession.
Right.
And what I thought about was, okay, if I'm working, I just got my job, maybe I get a raise, right? Average raise is like 3 to 5%.
Right.
And my job that I took, and this comes back to the retirement stuff, great retirement benefits, but it paid me a lot less than what I had expected. A lot less than someone with my type of degree, actually. But I remember thinking like the opportunity with this job is going to be great and it's everything I want. So I took the job. And so I'm like, but now I'm making less money than I thought I was going to make. I still want to buy this duplex. I still want to buy a duplex, right? So what do I do, right? So it's like, what do I do? I got to reduce my expenses, right? So in my budget at the time, I think I had, maybe it was like $800 for like a 1-bedroom apartment, right? So I had planned on moving out and living in a 1-bedroom apartment because to save money on college, I moved back home. And I was like, I got to stay here. Right? So it's like, nobody really wants to like stay at home when you graduate. Like the first thing you want to do is like leave, right?
Yeah.
But that was the only way that I could really save for that duplex. And I remember I got like teased a little bit about it, here and there, but that was literally it. I had to stay at home. And I remember like my mom was like, well, you don't have to pay me, I just want you to save your money. And I was like, no, I'll pay you. And so I think I was paying, I paid $150 a month just to cover like bills. And I made sure like I cleaned up after myself, helped out around the house. So I was never like a burden. Like she was honestly sad when I left, right? Because I was like helping out. So I'm leaving now to go buy my property. So she was sad. But that was one of the key things. And that's why like having a budget, right? Because now going from, I would have been spending $800 a month at least, and now I'm paying $150, right? So then that gave me the ability to save. But even if I couldn't live with my mom, then maybe I would live with a bunch of friends, right? I personally, I like living. At that time, my goal was to live on my own. I didn't want to live with anyone or roommates. But if that was what I needed to do to get to my ultimate goal, like that's what I was going to do. And I think this is kind of like a mentality that I got from my mom. But what I would say is don't ever put your pride in front of your purpose, right? Don't ever put your pride in front of your purpose. And that's like,
don't ever put your pride, in front of your. That's big because it happens. And I'm about to touch on that too. So
it happens all the time. And again, like my mom came here making $4 an hour. Okay. $4 an hour. So, and I never went hungry. Okay. I honestly, Amy, like, I don't think I really knew growing up that we were poor. Like we were at that point. Right. And my mom, Amy, I'm gonna tell you right now, my mom is the strongest person I know. Like mentally, I mean, it's just crazy to the mental strength. And I'm gonna get a little off track here, but since we're kind of talking about the pride and purpose, when she had my sister, this is back when we lived in Florida, when she had my sister, a social worker came to the house and my mom had postpartum depression. I didn't even know this story until recently. And she said the social worker came to her and said, based on your income level, it would be advantageous for you to go live in the projects. This is not the projects in Minnesota, this is projects in Florida. And, we weren't in a great neighborhood to begin with, but my mom was like, no, I've seen what it's like over there, right? I've seen the drugs, the violence, right? I didn't come to this country to go there, right? I was raised on a farm. We weren't around that, okay? We weren't necessarily wealthy, but we weren't raised around that. And she said, no, I'm not going to live there. Right. And I think that's part of a driving force of why she worked so hard. But this is one reason I tell people the best thing you can do for yourself is go travel. Go travel to Jamaica, right? Go travel to Jamaica, but don't stay on the beach, right? Don't stay on those resorts. Go up to the mountains, go to where people are living, right? In shacks and sheds. OK, see what that's like. I don't know if it's safe for you to stay there, but, But I'm serious. I mean, if you could live there for a week and experience that, come back to America. Your vision is going to change because you're going to see all these opportunities, right? Like, I mean, the thing is that I realize with a lot of people why they don't have money is what they value, right? You can come to America. Look, you can come to America, right? And you can buy a pair of shoes for $150, $900, whatever, right? And you can still buy a pair of shoes for $20, right?
Right.
That's powerful, right? Like my mom never bought me name brand shoes. That's why we never really, like, I didn't really know we were poor necessarily, was because she was so conservative with the money.
I think love has a lot to do with why you don't know why you're poor as well, because when when you're, and I believe in this, when you are poor, or shall I say broke, in the sense of
Broke.
finances,
I like the word broke instead of poor.
you don't have an opportunity to get so distracted by things that don't matter. So when you aren't raised broke and you have a 72-inch TV in your room at the age of 5, and you have every electronic, and you're in every polo club, you have a chance to be distracted. But the benefit to me about coming from humble beginnings is you don't have the opportunity for distractions. Like, you really don't. Like, we didn't have a TV. Cable? What? I mean, we had bunny ears, and my brother would make me stand on one side to hold it just so that we could get a clear picture. You know, so we said, screw TV. We liked outside. We liked doing whatever. But there are some kids that are force-fed certain things at a very young age, which cloud their vision. The other thing I want to bring up is when you are from a less fortunate upbringing, like I was, and like a lot of people were, the reason we get short visioned, meaning that we have such a struggle with understanding credit and finance and stuff, and this came later, of course, these little epiphany moments for me, is that we don't have the length, we don't have the mindset and the power and the belief that there's something that much further along, because survival is at the forefront of our life.
Yes.
So we are here today. We got fed today. We got our bread today. You know, versus somebody who doesn't have those day-to-day issues or problems or circumstances, versus somebody who may, you know, who has said, well, today I got to go help my mom make money, or today, or like, you know, I would go and collect pop bottles or whatever it was. You know, I didn't think about, let me go put the, you know, something, that Rich Dad Poor Dad book, read it, love it. I wish I had it so I could have showed the viewers. It's got a purple cover, well, at least the one I have. Wonderful book. You'll see, for those of you, Facebook user says, I had the best childhood and was raised broke. I agree. And please know I'm not talking mess on those who had a fortunate background. I'm not. What I'm saying is that the learning curve is different. And I'm saying that I found value, but I also found hiccups to where I wasn't where Andrew was at that time, or where I wasn't where some people who have had a better financial mentoring or a better financial experience. When I not only was raised in that circumstance, I had kids young. So all single mothers can probably relate. You didn't go for a new pair of shoes, or you didn't even try to buy a home. You just made an environment for your children. So I want to say, for all those people who came from a background that didn't allow the dreaming of a long-term financial goal, there's hope for you today, right now, going forward. And I'm thankful for people like Andrew who come and say, hey, it's a simple science. Nobody, you don't have to come from a certain background. You don't have to have a certain degree. You just have to have a passion for it. You just have to want to do it. And so I'm thankful for that, because I will say that coming from a restricted background will shorten your leash of understanding, because you're so worried about what's in front of you and not what's to come. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah. And I mean, you make such a good point about, you know, that's one thing is, if you're, you know, you got to really fill those basic needs, right? And if that's a struggle, you got to address that, right? How do you address that? And I think, you know, for my mom, it was the education piece, right? So she would work, and it was a combination of working and education, right? So in her mind, it was, I'm going to work a lot harder, right? So she worked really hard, and then use that money to pay for school to get a better job, right? To get a degree, to get a better job. And then she still continued to work really hard. So one of the life lessons I think that me and my mom talk about is, when you do get to a point, you know, you get to a point where you're no longer just, or if you get to a point, right, you still have to work to get to that point where you are no longer trying to hit those basic needs, right? But you have to remember to slow down. Right. That was something too. It was like the slow down. Okay, you got to make time to kind of educate yourself. Now is, okay, now I'm making okay money and I can save now. What do I do with that money? Right. That's kind of like, that's like the real key part that, you know, because here's the thing, like, I've made posts, right? And people that I know will DM me, right? Direct message me. One person I know makes a lot of money. Okay. We're talking like good, like over 200, right? Over 200K. Okay. Messages me and said, look, like, I posted something about why you should invest and not just put your money in the bank. And then they messaged me and they're like, you know, you made a good point. And I realized, like, I don't know anything about money. Like, I have thousands that I put in every month just sitting in the bank. right? But I don't know anything about money. And that's like the thing is like, we have this bridge or this gap, right, that we need to bridge, which is that investment knowledge, the money thing. And with everything that I've done, it's easier to do it now and faster, right? It is, so the technology that is out there, it's extraordinary. And I've written articles on this. Like you don't even, I mean, honestly, you just, like right now I'm too busy to do like to directly invest in real estate, right? Like I'm too busy with creating, expanding Wallet, growing this business, but yet I can still invest in it because there are apps out there that allow me to put money there with experienced investors. And they kind of, you know, it's called real estate investment trust, but just think of it like crowdfunding, right? Your money's pooled in with my money. We invested into these real estate deals. They make money, they just redistribute it back to us, right?
Right.
And like that's the technology that's out there now. And so it's just like, but you don't know that, right? So you can't put your money there because you don't know that. So we're limited by our knowledge.
Yeah, I have a book that should be coming out. My goal is for November, but I have another one coming out before that. But this personal one that I'm writing, I talk about PPM. I call it PPM, which is poor people mentality. And so I will say that the reason a lot of people have blocks is because they keep poor people mentality. And if you will read the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it is also in there, just described a little bit differently. And I will tell you, it's not your fault. Let me let all the viewers know right now, if you have a funny feeling or a uneasiness when it comes to money or finance, I want you first to realize a time and an era that our parents came from. It is all a handed down thing. Think about it. You know, when they were going through and they could only find rice or bread or whatever that culture or wherever you were from, and they believe that you have to save because you don't know if there's going to be any more. So they wouldn't do investments, or they wouldn't go out on an edge, or they wouldn't do whatever. And because this whole internet thing has gotten so big, I understand some people have been taken by false representatives for companies, and you know their money's been. So I say get with somebody who knows what the heck they're doing and it is a trusted source. And that's the other thing I want to tell you about Andrew is that on his site, he gives free information. Like I'm on his newsletter, so I get monthly, information. Or I don't know how often you do. Is it monthly? I've only been on it for a little while.
Usually you'll get one for, right now I have it set up for 10 weeks. You get an article sent to you, right? And that's like another thing. Yeah, like that's another thing. You literally read one of those articles every week. Like that could be your goal. Like I'm just going to read Andrew's article, one article a week, right? For 10 weeks, right? That literally changes your mind. It opens your vision up. You see what's possible. Even if you might not be able to even financially afford it, right? Like at 15, I couldn't afford a duplex, right?
Right.
But it opened my mind up when I started learning about it. And then I started to realize, okay, here's how I can get there. And that's really the main point is like, it doesn't really matter where you are. I'm kind of showing you what's possible and laying out the steps for you on how you can get there.
Yeah. You have a free success guide on your website.
Man, I'm glad that you brought that up because to me, like that's the most powerful thing I put out there. And that is like everything that I've done in my life that is worth probably noting is due to, and I call it success guide, but really it's about transformation. Right. And like, and how do you define success? Like you got to define what success is for yourself. But in my eyes, success is you going after what you say, right? You going after what you say. So I told my mom, and she even said it like years ago to people, that I told my mom that the first purchase I'm going to make, the first big purchase I'm going to make is going to be a property before I buy a new car. Right. I actually drove my old high school car. And so it's doing whatever you say you're going to do, right? Setting out for like that big goal. And in that guide, it's really about how do you transform your current situation, your thinking. It's really more on the thinking, the mindset for success. And that was one of the things I studied was successful people, whether they were world leaders or financially successful. And even in sports, right? You look at like the greatest athletes, like Michael Jordans and the Kobe's, right? And they have a certain mindset. And in that guide, though, I just break down the different areas of my life because you might, I don't know if you remember, or maybe you have heard my like speech from Les Brown's course, but I talk about how I was a full year behind in school when I was young in reading, right? And I was a bad student, actually. I wasn't a good student. I wasn't. And it was just one night in the car with my mom, right? It was just one night in the car with my mom after going to a parent teacher conference. As hard as my mom worked, there was one thing that she put above everything else, above all the work, and that was my education. She would not miss a parent teacher conference ever. If she had to give that shift away, she would do it. And she would be at those conferences. And I failed the social studies exam. This exam I had like weeks to prepare for, right? I only took 2 days. I studied for it for 2 days. You had to memorize all 50 states and every state's city. And so it was on that car ride home where she like got mad at me, but then I looked into her eyes and it was just sadness. I mean, more sadness than I had ever seen in my whole life in her eyes. And it was like, I didn't understand the importance of school at that time, but all I knew was like, whatever it was, like, I needed to do well to like make her proud of me, like make her forget about this, because this was sad. And so I worked my butt off and luckily had a special ed teacher who was actually like the most senior. And, you know, she saw something in me and we worked together for 2 years. And then I excelled, right? In reading, I became like, the next time we took a standardized test, it showed I was actually 3 years ahead now in reading, from being a full year behind to now being 3 years. And then after that, you know, I got A's in school. And that's why I'm a big proponent of reading, right? There's a lot of value in that and everything else. But, you know, I made that my purpose. And so in the Keys to Success guide, like the first key to success that I talk about is purpose, right? And then how do you incorporate that into your life? And then I go into other aspects that, you know, I've incorporated into my life or have helped me to transform, you know, when you talk about finances, right? And doing that, right? That was, again, like some things that I have in that Keys to Success guide. It's really, you know, what's on my shirt, right? Learn, believe, and grow. So, and that just stands for learn all that you can, believe in yourself, and take actions that allow you to grow. So I talk about these. How do you incorporate these into your life? Having a system of learning, right? Having a system that helps you believe in yourself, because no one might believe in your dream or any of this stuff that you're talking about you want to achieve, but you got to put that belief in yourself. And then the growth, that's actually taking action. So it's taking actions that allow you to grow. That's the key part, though, is the growth, because a lot of times you can take action, but it's not really going to help you get there. You know what I mean? So
or it's repeated action, same thing, and you can't grow beyond where you're.
Exactly. So you really got to take time to think. And then the one key I didn't mention yet, it's focus. This is a huge one right now. I mean, with social media, with how many ads we see, you know, we see thousands of ads a day. I heard over 5,000 ads a day we see, right? You think about, you watch a YouTube video, how many ads do you watch in like a 10-minute YouTube video, right? And so and then the phone, right? Technology, right? You open up an app, you see ads, you get notifications constantly. So your focus is like always being broken, right? And that's like a really, really key for your creativity to work. And so that's another thing, is like steps that you can take to not break your focus. That's what I talk about too.
That's big. So you guys, again, on his website, there is a free success guide. Get it. I encourage you to also sign up for the newsletter that comes out. It always has good stuff. I love reading it. I want to go into some myth busters right now. I like I said about me, I was told that you don't get credit. You owe nobody. You only use the money that you have in your wallet, and that's it. If you don't have it, you don't got it, and that's it. So give me some, I guess, eye openers when it comes to credit.
Okay, yeah, well, definitely. I mean, first off, if I had to save up, right, 24 years old, if I tried to save up that money, even for the down payment, use an FHA loan. That's what I used, which is like from the government, whereas you only pay 3.5% down instead of the 20% down. So that was a big key, right? So I didn't need to save up a crazy amount of money. But, you know, again, if let's just say, okay, I don't use credit, right? I've got to buy this property cash, right? That would, I don't know, maybe I would. No, I wouldn't have a property now, right? Because again, think about it. Right? The house prices are going here, right? And my pay is like going way down here. So I can't catch up, right? I can't catch up with that down payment. So I mean, that's kind of the thing with credit. And the big thing is, you think about a property, right? I get the property, I'm in at 3.5%. Okay. Yeah, I got to use credit. You know, I owe the bank money, but the property is going up in value.
Right.
Right. Think about that. Right. Right. And so you can access that property value without selling the property.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So a lot of people last year, it kind of started with interest rates being low, and it's happening again. A lot of people are doing this. I have a lot of real estate contacts. So one of my good friends in Minnesota, we talk every week. He's a real estate mortgage consultant. Actually, he got an award for being the top in Minnesota last year for 2020. Told him I wasn't surprised because I just knew how good he was. He was the one who helped me with my property. But, you know, we talk about, you know, how many people are refinancing and why are they doing that? Part of it is you can pull that money out of your property. You basically are getting a new loan. But again, that requires credit, right? Because you're borrowing money again. So that requires credit. And then when we talk about how does credit help you? One of the other things is you can actually use your credit cards potentially to help you. See all those 0% offers, right? That you see sometimes, like 0% APR, right? Well, what if you had a credit card? Because a lot of credit cards are like 15% and up that you're paying in interest. What if you move that high interest, right? I owe debt, right? And this is part of how I paid off my loan so quickly, right? I moved that debt over to this special promotional offer where I'm paying 0% for 12 months, right? And so for 2 years, for the 2 years where I was working to pay off debt, I was broke. But I put myself there to be broke because I had a bigger picture for myself, right? The thing I wanted was to get out of debt in those 2 years. And so I was putting so much money towards those 0% type of offers where I'm basically, all that money is going towards the balance and not the interest that's paying the credit card companies, whoever it is. So that's probably the things.
That's a good key. So you took where it was a higher interest to a lower interest or no interest or whatever when it came to where your money was setting. Let me ask you, if there's some viewers out there, like I had myself at one point, you get these offers that say you have to pay like a $59 or $89. Some people say don't do it because you shouldn't have to pay for credit. Some people say do it because you got to start somewhere. What is your personal take on secured credit cards or ones that you have to put like a deposit down and they give you $400 or $500 and maybe your credit is busted, but you get these offers? Would you say it's a, you know, this is a builder, or no, wait till it gets better and take other offers? How would you look at that?
So I would say, yeah, it depends on your purpose. Right, because I personally, I don't like to pay any credit card fees to just hold the card.
Right.
But there is one card that I do pay every month because it does have certain advantages to it that I like. But let's say for your example, though, you're just saying is I'm trying to build my credit either up or I'm trying to build credit for the first time, so I don't have a credit card. Right? Is that what I'm understanding?
Right. Like who might be coming back from like a really big, the reason I ask is because with the pandemic, a lot of people are going to have crashed credit because some people lost their jobs. And so they're going to get back into that point of where they're trying to scrape themselves back up. And I know that when credit gets to a certain number, these pre-approved type cards start hitting their inbox. And I just want to give a little light on it. Like, is it a safe thing to say, okay, you know what? Yeah, we might grab one that says it's $49 annually and you know, it's, you know, $1 a month or whatever to have the card, but it is a major credit card. It will report to the bureaus and it will, you know, how do you look at that?
So
somebody who's
I personally, first off, I'm trying to look for a card that doesn't have a fee at all. Like that's my first thing. I'm looking for a card that doesn't have a fee. And then again, like if they're not in any debt, like let's say they're not in any debt. Okay. Then I don't really care so much about the offer. I'm really focused on no fees. And then let's say if I can't find that, okay, if I can't find that, then yes, I would agree. Sorry, my camera keeps shaking. But yeah, I would agree then that it probably is worth it, right? If you can afford it, it probably is worth it to get that card, manage it properly, right? Pay it off every month so that you can build back up that credit faster. So it's probably worth it. But nerdwallet.com, great site for finding credit cards, right? So that's what I would put in the chat is like, go to nerdwallet.com. You know, I have an article, what is it? Building up your credit, building up a rock solid credit score. That was an article where, I talk about that very thing, break down what is a credit score made up of. And then I mentioned that website in there too. And one more thing on my event, actually, it's not just me in the event, it's actually a credit repair specialist. So, he's going to talk about building up your credit. And then I'm more so going to focus more on, okay, like you got the credit, what are the things you can do with it, right? And I'm going to break down exactly how in those 2 years, like the steps I took in order to pay off my debt. And if there's time, I'll go into some other like investment things you can do with credit. But I mean, we're packing a lot in there, so I don't know if I'll get to that. But the bottom line is you want to build your credit score up, okay? Like, even if you're like, I don't know what I'm going to do with it, right? Build it up, because when the opportunity comes, you want to be ready.
Right. So that's key. So I'm going to recap on what we said. For those of you who may have went through first of all, stop feeling bad for crappy credit, okay? Life happens, things happen. Yep. Just get back on the horse and make it better. Some of you are sitting there feeling bad because things went on. Maybe there was an unexpected situation. Maybe there is a pandemic. For me, if you've heard my life story, you know that even in my 40s, as I was already somebody who was well into my career, a life situation happened, had me digging in the dumpsters for recycling. Talk about having to repair your life. Honey, I had to repair a lot. So I did feel like crap. I felt like, what kind of adult is this, that I'm starting back at ground zero, that I have nothing, that I don't trust. When I say it took an emotional turn, it was crap. It hurt. It makes you feel like you're an adult you're like a kid all over again. You're like, man, I was adulting so well. But life happens. So first and foremost, forgive yourself. If your credit is less than what you want it to be, so what? Start from today. Start from right now. We've offered you some information, where to get information. And this is why I'm doing this. I do this because there's somebody out there right now who's struggling to figure out, maybe they've not had somebody teach them. Maybe they've felt embarrassed to ask. This is why I do this. I want everybody to gain. The world is the largest recycling center for money. It's out there. Absolutely. You have to learn how to get into the system. Once you get into the system, that's why some of you look around and you go, I don't understand how they did it. I don't understand how they did it. They worked at a convenience store. They worked at Taco Bell. They did whatever, but they've got all this.
Hey, that was my first job, Taco Bell.
All right, Taco Bell. And so they had their mindset. And you guys, it's open to everybody. Opportunity is here. It doesn't take a special class. It doesn't take a special whatever. It just takes you having the desire to do it. So nerdwallet.com, expanding wallet, a lot of expanding here. I like that. Yeah. Make sure that you are taking advantage of this free course. It's free, right? Did I hear that right? That course you're doing is free?
Yeah, it's just it's a 1 day, it's going to be an hour. It's going to be a live workshop. We're going to go over some material. You're going to have the opportunity to ask questions. So, I mean, it is free, and it might even be the last free event that I do, honestly. And a lot of people have been telling me, when you put up free events, like, people just think that it's not going to get any value out of it. Right. So the fact is like, me not charging is like mentally like, oh, I'm not going to get anything out of it. Right. It's going to be like some salesy thing. Right. No, like, right. I mean, I'm literally going to break down how I got out of debt in 2 years, like that for sure. I'm going to make sure I get to that, because that's one of the biggest things that holds us back, is we're so tied into debt sometimes that we can't run out there and do things. And I want to say one thing that really will probably just change someone's life when you change this part about your thinking. Okay. When it comes to money and investing and all of this, stop thinking in dollars. Start thinking in percentage. Okay. Ooh. Start thinking in percentage. Right. And I'll tell you why. Okay. This is like back to the budgeting thing. But for instance, if I make, let's say, $1,000, right, and I spend $100, right, that's 10% of my monthly income, right? Now somehow my income increases. I spend $1,000, right? If I make 10,000, I spend 1,000. That's still 10%, right? And now I make 100,000. I spend 10,000, right? And so you have to try to keep that percentage the same, right? Even as you go up, because what I've seen, and this is when I was really young, we had a family friend who, she was making like maybe, let's say, 50,000 a year. She opens a business, right? She's now making $500,000 a year. And you're thinking like, wow, that's amazing. $500,000 a year, right? She comes over and tells us that I'm still broke. What? How is that possible? All that happened was her lifestyle just increased when her money increased. So now she's buying the most expensive purses that she can find, big houses. We're talking BMW cars, right?
Right.
Paying a ton of money into credit cards, can't save a dime. And here's what happened: someone in that business, the one
Mm-hmm.
handling the money, was doing
Mm-hmm.
some extremely fraudulent activity.
Mm-hmm.
FBI came into her office, went through a bunch of documents, found that this was extreme fraud. That person goes to jail. Her license
Mm-hmm.
gets taken away. Business gone. Okay, nothing left. Nothing left. And that's like, she was so caught up in living that lifestyle that she really wasn't also focused on her business. But if you keep that mindset, that percentage in mind, right, you
Mm-hmm.
can definitely live that lifestyle. But just, again, like that 10% of fun money or whatever you want to call it, that's going to really help you out a lot.
That's really interesting that you talk about that. Another guest I'm going to have on this month, in a couple weeks, or so, I think it's next week. We're going to talk about the woes of starting a business, the hiccups, the trip ups, the everything that you can do. And one of the ones I wanted to touch on is you start to get lazy on yourself when you're a business owner, because you start seeing the things and you start avoiding looking at the nuts and bolts of the inside. Things are going good, money showing up, and you stop being responsible for where it's going or for what it's doing, and you get into the lull of having, and you stop looking deep into what's going on. I did have a Facebook question here. It said, "Are you familiar with the Dave?" Here we go. Are you familiar with the Dave Ramsey babysitters? And if so, how do you incorporate the steps and still raise your credit score? Do you know anything about that?
I've heard some of Dave Ramsey. I've heard a lot of Dave Ramsey stuff, but I'm not sure I'm familiar. Yeah, this babysitter thing. I'm not exactly sure, but I have heard. I think I've read that someone said, like, he says don't use credit, at all, and pay things in cash. That might be what they're referring to, and I know why he says that. It's because of kind of my mom's, this friend of hers, her experience where she couldn't really manage credit,
Right.
right? And so, I think that you have to be honest with yourself first off, because one thing though, why I think it's important to gain the knowledge first, because I don't think she understood the power of credit outside of just being able to buy expensive things. And I think it's so important that you get the knowledge that we're going to share next week, Wednesday, because then you start to understand the bigger picture, right? I was fortunate enough that I started understanding that young. And so
Right.
I was like, my credit is so valuable to me besides just buying material things that I didn't want to like waste my money on those things. So, but to Dave Ramsey's point, if you realize like, hey, this is actually hurting me, because your credit can actually hurt you a lot more, right?
Uh-huh. Sorry about that.
You gotta try to put something in place. I think there are, don't quote me on this, but you'd have to look into it. But there might be ways where you can actually talk to the credit card company, and if it's like they give you a $5,000 limit, and you're like, hey, I can only afford to pay off $100. Maybe they can just drop it to something like 100. I mean, that would actually probably help you with some of that spending if they can put a lock on it. But I definitely don't like not building your credit, that, or find some way to build your credit, because that is really important.
That's what I was going to say too. The other thing is, I think people get overwhelmed with credit when they think that they don't have to be responsible for maintaining it, and for or it is their responsibility, and so make
Yeah.
sure that if I were to give any pointers, I would say get your due dates together. See if you can get them as close together as possible, so you don't have to remember 10 dates.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Make sure it's just one date,
Yeah.
so that you're a little bit,
And I know someone that used to put like money aside. So they would get paid weekly, and it was like they were putting money aside to pay for that credit card. And so they would look at, okay, how much money do I have? I think maybe it was like just a special bank account to pay off the credit card. And so they would check that bank account, and it was like, okay, if there's $150 in there, I can spend up to $150. And so that's another kind of clever way, because using a debit card is risky. I don't really personally use debit card very much, but there's very little benefit to that, especially now when you have to worry about security issues. I know someone where someone got their debit card and it took a long time to get the money back from the bank, as opposed to a credit card, right? If somebody takes it, you call them up, you don't have to worry about it. So I look at it from the security standpoint too.
That's what that gentleman, and I know I feel silly for not even remembering his name. He's really big, billionaire or whatever. And he was just saying that none of his sons have debit cards. None of them. They all have credit cards because it's the safest money and it works for you. And so some people would say, yeah, but you're paying interest rate. Well, the better your credit gets and the better everything gets, you're paying very little for that security. So
yeah. Well, you don't pay interest though, right? If you pay it off at the end of the month, you're not paying them any interest, right?
Right.
So that's why you just pay it off. It's the same like if you had just bought it,
Right. Bought it straight out. Let's see if I have anything else on my list. Again, for those of you who may have just now joined, please go to the website. More importantly, there's an event coming up July 21st at 8 p.m. Central. Make sure that you attend this event. Be in the know. That's all I got to say. Be in the know. Everybody wants more than where they're at right now, but sometimes you just don't know how to get it. That is what we're trying to help everybody see, is that there's an open world out there. And yes, credit is a big
delayed
part.
gratification, right? Have like delayed gratification. Wait to get things, right? Like when I was 24, man, I wanted to buy a new car like everybody else, right? But I knew too much to know that was a bad decision at that time. Right? Even buying a brand new car is, I hear it's a bad decision, right? But at 26, I had paid off that debt. Guess what I did? I go and I buy a brand new car, right? Even though it's like yeah, I know it's a bad financial decision, but I wanted that. But I was at a point where I could make that type of financial decision and be okay. You get what I'm saying? Because now I had the duplex where I had some extra income coming in. I paid off the debt. And when it comes to like college student loan debt, I didn't have a crazy amount of college student loan debt. But what happened was when I got the duplex, I borrowed money in order to renovate it. And that was a lot of debt. And so that was why. So now I focused heavily on paying off those two things. And now those are gone. I'm like, all bad debt is gone at 26. And now I go and I buy the new car as opposed to like a used car. Probably be the one time you get a brand new car, maybe, maybe. But again, like you have to like prioritize that, right? Once you gain the knowledge, like you got like, okay, I got to get the property first, which is going to increase my income, pay off the debt, then I get the car, right? And so that's like the thinking that's why on the website, the first thing, like the banner says, transform your mind to expand your wallet, right? And then underneath it, right? And then underneath it, so now you got your money going right. Underneath it, I say, helping you to basically go after your dreams, right? Helping you achieve your dreams in life, because it's going to take money. Like, no doubt about it. Your dreams are going to take some form of money.
They are. And so, again, I want to say to everybody who listened today, thank you. You just took a step forward into knowledge. You just took a step forward into a better financial situation for yourself. You're actually opening up to the thought process of saying, hey, you know what? Okay, maybe I will get that low end $300 card just to build my credit or whatever it is. But more importantly, I want to piggyback with Andrew on the fact it's a mindset. Everything is a mindset. If you grew up in a situation where, it was less than favorable when it came to finances, you probably have a stigma somewhere deep down inside you may need to address. I know with some of my clients that I help get past their stuck in their life, get unstuck, or however you will. Part of it is because they're still hearing the same voices and the same things that they did when they were young. And sometimes that will cause a stunt in their growth in their personal life, be it finance, relationship, whatever it is. Finance is big, because if you feel like money is running you, you have a bad taste in your mouth. You don't like the thought about money or credit or any of that. And so you cower at your bills. You get upset when you have to pay something instead of going, whoa, I get to pay this bill. Yes, let's pay that bill. When your energy changes for what you can get done and what you're paying off, things change. And Andrew, you said something, it is in your bio, I believe, on your website. It says, we no longer work for money. We make money work for us. I believe that's about as close. That was probably a little bit of
I think I might have sent that to you. That was really the mindset, the shift in thinking, right? With my mom was, to get money, you have to work really hard for it, right? And then when you get it, you just put it in the bank. So that was really the mindset, and the conversation changed with my mom, right? It went from, okay, how do I get extra hours at work to where can I put this money to go to work for me, right? And even with me, like when I started investing and I got into other things, right, stocks, when I started investing and even in retirement accounts, right, I didn't have a whole lot of money to put aside for that. And it's like, if you start with maybe like $50, whatever it is, and I tell people, whatever you can invest it. And not necessarily because it's going to make you rich, but because it's going to develop that habit. And if you can manage $1,000 and you get $1 million in your hand, you'll know what to do with it. That's the problem when you people win the lottery, right? They win the lottery and they're still broke.
Yeah.
And or they go back to broke because they haven't developed the mindset to understand how to manage money. And so the conversation then changes with my mom on how do I make my money work for me? And like I'm saying, when I started and I put money away, it's not a lot, but over time, as my money increases now, I can put more away, and then that's gaining, right? Compound interest. And it is a crazy feeling when you go to work and you go and you look at your investments, right? And you're like, man, I might have made like $200 today, but my investment just made $300 for me. So it's a crazy feeling when your money is outworking you. And that's like the goal, right? Like make your money outwork you.
Absolutely. So you guys, Andrew and I met on Les Brown. We're both Power Voice speakers. If you need somebody to come and educate a youth group or an adult group or anybody and you like a speaker, I highly suggest that you see if he would be willing to come and speak with you. He knows how to speak. He knows what he's talking about and he's passionate about it. He's not selling, hot dogs on a stick here. He's actually giving empowerment out for free. And then maybe you can book him, and I'm sure he's not too expensive. And then you can get him to do something for your community. Maybe it's your church, to be honest with you. I was in a John Tallarico group, and the one thing that he said, which I'm sure it's a formula that was built somewhere that has worked so many times that many people have memorized it. If you're feeling broke, go take $5, put it in a plastic bag and give it. I know that sounds crazy. People are like, I'm broke. I can't afford to give no money. Every month I give to the Cross. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but in Texas, in Groom, Texas, there's a big cross. I donate there. Find places to give. Everybody says, well, I tithe. I get that. I'm not knocking that. I'm not saying don't tithe, but what I'm saying is step yourself up. Like Andrew said, make an investment somewhere, a small one. It doesn't have to be, huge, but, and I started out there, to be quite honest with you guys. I think I put like $20 in some kind of stock that I had no clue of, but I felt good about it. That thing has probably earned me about $45, but you know what? It was the fact of it sitting there, and it's still more than what I put in there. And it was the beginning. So if you're feeling like you don't have enough, go on and find somewhere to put some money. Sounds crazy. Sounds like the opposite of what you need to do, but I'm telling you, your ideology will change of money, and what you put out will come back. But you have to believe that. Don't feel broke. Just because your bank account has zeros in the wrong places or negatives instead of pluses, don't be discouraged. Money is a mindset. It is an energy. It is like anything else that you do. So just keep moving forward. Any last points, Andrew?
Yeah, I would just want to say, there's just so many opportunities right now. And the reason for me starting Expanding Wallet was when I looked at statistics that were showing how many people, and even before the coronavirus, were literally living paycheck to paycheck. And then when the coronavirus hit, we obviously went through a tough time. And now I just recently saw another statistic showing that people in America, 58% of them, they estimate, are living paycheck to paycheck. Right. And before our meeting, I had a call with a college student that I work with. He does some stuff for me, video editing. And, it was a great conversation because it just shows you what's possible. And he was saying, because of the work I'm doing, helping you and other people with video editing and the other type of work that he's doing, I think he does some marketing as well. He's like, I'm not only going to pay for my college now, I'm actually paying for my family's expenses. Right. Wow. And so there are so many opportunities right now that it's like shocking when I hear that, because I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is why I need to do Expanding Wallet. Right. And I'm doing this from a purpose standpoint, not like a profit standpoint, because honestly, like where I was at before I started this was like a great position where, I could probably retire from my job, I would say, with my plan, or what I think about could have been my plan, right, is probably between 35 and 40. I would probably have enough or an option to retire, right? Just converting my duplex or buying more duplexes and then accumulating apartment buildings, right? And now you have a cash flow that's coming in, right? Like that could have been my game plan. But instead I'm like, there's too many people out here that don't know this, right?
Right.
And so my thing is I'm going to focus on purpose first, and then the profits hopefully will follow to keep going. But that's my thing, right? Focus on purpose first, and then hopefully the profits follow.
Very good. Focus on purpose and on purpose. Yes, that is very important. I do want to take.
I'll just say this: purpose first, then profits.
Purpose, then profits. And when you do that, profits are bound to happen. I will say that for those of you who are always skinning the cat, this is going to sound funny, but stop looking for free. Stop looking for deals saying you can't afford it. Stop doing that. If it's something that you really want, get to a point to where you can get it. A lot of people will downplay the desires that they have, and it will become a money issue. Don't do that. If there's something that you want, keep your mind on that. Just know that you're not going to take nothing less. A lot of people will go and they'll look for what's free. And I'm not saying free is bad. Here's what I'm saying. If you limit yourself to only what is free and to where you felt you got a deal and you're stepping over dimes to pick up pennies, you're going to keep on picking up pennies. Stop penny pinching your dreams. Stop diluting the things that you want by being afraid because of money. Stop fearing money. It's an energy. Change your energy and change your mindset about it and let it flow effortlessly into your life. That's all I have for you today. Thank you for coming, Andrew. Thank you for your time. Time is money and time is valuable. So thank you for saying yes. And thank you for being here. You guys get a pen. I'm going to repeat this one more time. July 21st, 8 p.m. Central. Go to the website, www.expandingwallet.com/events. There's a free event about credit. Andrew is partnering with somebody else for credit repair, I believe he mentioned.
Yeah, credit repair specialist, Martian.
This is an opportunity for you. If it's not you and it's your neighbor, poke them, give them the website, whoever it is. Learning is something we all have to do. So if you have a bitter taste in your mouth about where you stand financially, credit-wise, or whatever it is, let's fix it. There's people out there willing to help. This is a free event, probably one of the last free events. So make sure that you get to it. Also, make sure that you go to Andrew's website and get that free newsletter. Come on now. A lot of you have stuff coming through your emails that are garbage, that will never feed you in any kind of way. This is the good kind of mail you need to receive. This is what you need to be reading. This is about you, for you, but it takes you to have a desire to get better with yourself financially. I hope that you gained something from this program today, and send it out, forward it, watch it in replay, do what you need to. Make sure you write this stuff down and get to it. A lot of you, I don't know many people that can say, I'm exactly where I need to be financially and I don't need to get any better. If you find them, send them to me, because there's always a want and there's always more. So make sure that you're growing in this arena. Thank you.
I'll say one more thing, Amy. And wait, I will say, well, thank you for that. That was everything that you said was brilliant. And I just wanted to say, also follow Expanding Wallet on YouTube. I'm actually doing interviews now with people who have transformed their lives. And a lot of them are also trying to help people in various areas. And I'm also putting out educational content on there as well. I'm still kind of ramping up with that, but that's just another place. Follow Expanding Wallet on YouTube.
Let me put that in here really quick, just so that it's on there if they go for the to watch it again or something. So it's what is the YouTube channel called? Just the Expanding Wallet? What is the
Expanding Wallet? Yeah, if you Google or you go on YouTube and you type in Expanding Wallet in the search, it'll pop up. It'll be one of the first things.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to add that. That way, for those of you who are watching this or sent this to somebody, there's also a YouTube channel. All right, you guys, thank you for joining. I hope that I brought you something that was useful and it helps to empower you as a person. That's all I want to do, is give you things that give you hope, give you healing, or give you insight. And so that's what my channel is about. That's what Lady Bolding is about, is getting to the best of you. Andrew, thank you again. And you guys have a great rest of your Thankful Thursday. And until next time.
Thank you.